Welcome to this special update, where we're peeling back the layers on the evolving landscape of government benefits that millions rely on every day. And trust me, what I'm about to share isn't the same recycled news you've heard elsewhere. It's a fresh, in-depth look, drawn from the latest developments as we stand here in late August 2025, with changes already rolling out or on the brink of transforming lives. As someone who's spent years tracking these systems, analyzing policy shifts, and hearing directly from recipients about how these adjustments hit home, I can tell you that the Social Security Administration and the Department of Veterans Affairs are ushering in some of the most significant alterations we've seen in recent memory, specifically targeting supplemental security income, Social Security disability insurance, and VA benefits. These aren't just minor tweaks, they're overhauls that could mean hundreds more or less in your monthly check, revised eligibility rules that might open doors for some while closing them for others, and procedural updates designed to streamline processes but potentially complicate claims if you're not prepared. What sets this discussion apart is that we'll connect the dots between these programs, showing how they intersect for dual recipients, and I'll break it all down without the jargon, making sure you walk away empowered with knowledge that feels like an insider's edge. Moving seamlessly into the heart of today's topic, let's start by understanding why these big changes are happening now, and what they mean for you if you're among the SSI, SSDI, or VA recipients navigating this terrain. The catalyst for many of these updates stems from a combination of economic pressures, like inflation, that continues to erode purchasing power, and political directives under the current administration, aiming to refine, or in some cases, restrict, benefit distributions to align with broader fiscal goals. For instance, the annual cost of living adjustment, or COLA, is a cornerstone of these programs, automatically bumping up payments to keep pace with rising costs. And for 2025, it's set at 2.5% across the board, a figure derived from the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, tracked from the third quarter of 2023 to 2024. This might sound modest compared to the higher adjustments we've seen in previous years, but it translates to real dollars for beneficiaries. And when you layer on other reforms like earnings limit hikes, resource threshold stasis, and proposed cuts, it paints a picture of a system in flux. SSI, which supports low-income individuals with disabilities or those over 65, is seeing its federal payment standards rise accordingly, while SSDI, tied more closely to your work history and contributions, adjusts benefits based on the same COLA but with nuances in how disability thresholds are measured. Meanwhile, VA benefits for veterans, often overlapping with Social Security for those with service-connected disabilities, are incorporating this COLA while introducing sweeping rating schedule revisions that could redefine how conditions like mental health issues, sleep apnea, and tinnitus are evaluated and compensated. These changes aren't isolated, they're interconnected, especially for veterans who might qualify for both VA and Social Security support, where concurrency rules dictate how payments interact to avoid double dipping. And understanding them deeply means grasping not just the numbers, but the human impact, how a small percentage increase might cover groceries for one family, or how a rating downgrade could force another to rethink their budget entirely. Diving deeper into the specifics, let's first unpack the transformations hitting supplemental security income, or SSI, because this program serves as a lifeline for over 8 million Americans who often have limited resources and face the harshest eligibility criteria. The big headline here is the 2.5% COLA boost effective from January 2025, which elevates the maximum federal monthly payment for an eligible individual from $943 in 2024 to $967, a bump of about $24 that, while not enormous, accumulates over the year to help offset climbing expenses like housing and healthcare. For couples where both are eligible, that figure jumps from $1,415 to $1,450, adding roughly $35 monthly, and for those with an essential person providing care, the amount rises to $484. But here's where it gets more layered. These are federal baselines, and many states supplement them, so your actual check could vary depending on where you live. States like California or New York often add more, while others stick closer to the federal minimum. What's particularly noteworthy this year is the stagnation in resource limits, which remain at $2,000 for individuals and $3,000 for couples, meaning if your savings or assets creep above these thresholds, you could lose eligibility altogether, a rule that's drawn criticism for not keeping up with modern living costs, but persists amid efforts to control program spending. Adding to the mix are adjustments for students receiving SSI, where the monthly exclusion for earned income increases to $2,350 and the annual cap to $9,460, allowing young disabled individuals to work or study without as steep a penalty to their benefits, which is a subtle but positive shift toward encouraging independence. However, looming over these increments is a proposed rule from the Trump administration, announced earlier this month on August 7, 2025, that's poised to cut benefits for nearly 400,000 low-income disabled or elderly recipients by expanding penalties for in-kind support like food or shelter provided by family or friends. Currently, such assistance can reduce your SSI by up to one-third, around $300 a month, but the new proposal aims to tighten this further, potentially stripping eligibility entirely for those deemed to receive too much non-cash help, a move framed as fraud prevention but decried by advocates as punitive toward the most vulnerable. If implemented, this could roll out as early as late 2025, forcing recipients to reassess living arrangements or face reduced payments, and it's a stark reminder that while COLA provides uplift, policy overhauls can pull the rug out, especially for those already on the edge. To illustrate, imagine a disabled adult living with relatives who help with meals. Under the current system, their SSI might dip slightly, but the new rules could slash it dramatically, pushing them toward poverty or institutional care, which underscores the need to stay informed and perhaps consult a benefits counselor to mitigate impacts. Shifting our focus to Social Security Disability Insurance, or SSDI, which differs from SSI in that it's funded through payroll taxes you've paid during your working years and requires a sufficient work history to qualify. The 2025 changes build on similar foundations, but introduce thresholds that could affect your ability to earn while receiving benefits. The COLA again plays a central role, raising the average monthly benefit for a disabled worker from $1,542 to $1,580, an increase of about $38 that extends to families as well. For a disabled worker with a spouse and children, it climbs from $2,757 to $2,226 collectively. This adjustment ensures benefits don't lose value over time, but it's paired with hikes in the substantial gainful activity, or SGA, limits, which determine if you're considered too able to work to qualify for disability. For non-blind individuals, SGA rises from $1,550 monthly to $1,720, meaning you can earn up to that amount without jeopardizing your SSDI, while for blind recipients, it jumps from $2,590 to $2,700, offering a bit more flexibility for part-time work or trial periods. The trial work period itself sees an uptick, with the earnings threshold moving from $1,110 to $1,160 per month, allowing 9 months of testing the waters in employment without immediate benefit loss, which is crucial for those recovering or adapting to disabilities. Beyond these, the maximum taxable earnings for Social Security contributions increased to $176,100 from $168,600, affecting higher earners, but indirectly bolstering the program's solvency, and the amount needed for a quarter of coverage, essentially a credit toward eligibility, rises to $1,810 from $1,730, potentially making it slightly harder for marginal workers to qualify in the future. A game changer this year is the implementation of the Social Security Fairness Act, which began adjusting payments from February 2025 to eliminate or reduce the windfall elimination provision and government pension offset. For those with pensions from non-Social Security covered jobs, like certain public servants or teachers, meaning thousands could see retroactive boosts if they've been shortchanged in the past. Yet similar to SSI, there's turbulence from administrative proposals. The same push to curb perceived overpayments could lead to stricter reviews of SSDI claims, with enhanced fraud detection measures that might delay approvals or trigger more continuing disability reviews, where the SSA reassesses your condition periodically. For example, if you're an SSDI recipient attempting to return to work, these higher SGA limits might encourage you. But a botched review could end your benefits abruptly, highlighting the importance of documenting your medical status meticulously. Overall, these SSDI updates aim to balance support with incentives for self-sufficiency, but they demand vigilance, especially if you're dually enrolled in VA programs, where combined benefits can't exceed certain caps, and missteps could result in overpayment demands that claw back funds you've already spent. Now, turning to the Department of Veterans Affairs benefits, which cater specifically to those who've served our country and often intersect with Social Security for comprehensive support, the 2025 landscape is marked by both enhancements and contentious restrictions that could reshape compensation for millions of veterans. At the forefront is the 2.5% COLA applied to disability payments, effective from December 1, 2024, but reflected in checks starting January 2025, which means if you're rated at 100% disabled without dependents, your monthly payment rises from around $3,621 to approximately $3,711, with proportional increases for lower ratings and additional amounts for spouses, children, or aid and attendance needs. This adjustment mirrors Social Security's to combat inflation, but VA's system is unique in its rating percentages, from 0 to 100%, based on how service-connected conditions impair earning capacity, and this year brings major overhauls to the rating schedule, particularly as of August 2025, when updates for mental health, sleep apnea, and tinnitus take effect amid ongoing implementation from earlier proposals. For mental health disorders like PTSD or depression, the VA is shifting from a focus on occupational and social impairment to evaluating symptom severity across 5 domains, such as cognition, interpersonal interactions, and self-care, which could lead to more equitable ratings, but potentially higher or lower compensation, depending on how your symptoms manifest. For instance, severe anxiety that disrupts daily routines might now warrant a 70% rating more readily, benefiting veterans who felt underserved by the old criteria. However, sleep apnea ratings are tightening significantly. Veterans using CPAP machines, previously often rated at 50%, may now only qualify for 10% unless they demonstrate daytime hypersomnolence or other complications. A change aimed at aligning payouts with actual impairment, but criticized for undervaluing the condition's toll on quality of life. Similarly, tinnitus, the persistent ringing in ears, common among combat vets, loses its standalone 10% rating and will only be compensable if linked to another rated condition, potentially reducing benefits for those whose primary issue is this auditory affliction. On the brighter side, the PACT Act continues to expand presumptive conditions for toxic exposure from burn pits, Agent Orange, and more, adding new illnesses in 2025 that make it easier to claim without proving direct service connection, thus broadening eligibility for Gulf War, Afghanistan, and Vietnam-era vets. Processing times are also improving with AI-assisted reviews and better online tracking, aiming to cut backlogs that have plagued the system. And mental health care expands to include innovative treatments like psychedelics for resistant cases. Yet, under the current administration's influence, including echoes of Project 2025, there's talk of restricting benefits further, proposals to reduce payments for veterans over 67 by 30% starting in 2026, or overhauling claims to make disability harder to obtain, though assurances have been made that core healthcare won't be cut. For dual recipients, like a veteran on VA disability also drawing SSDI, these changes require careful coordination. VA payments are tax-free and don't count as income for SSI, but they can offset SSDI under certain rules, so a rating drop might necessitate re-evaluating Social Security claims. Take a hypothetical veteran with 70% VA rating for PTSD and SSDI for the same. The new mental health criteria could boost their VA to 100%, increasing income but possibly triggering SSDI offsets, illustrating the intricate dance between programs. As we weave these threads together, it's clear that for recipients juggling SSI, SSDI, and VA benefits, the 2025 changes create a tapestry of opportunities and challenges that demand proactive engagement, whether it's updating your direct deposit to catch that COLA boost promptly, appealing a rating downgrade under the new schedule, or bracing for potential SSI cuts by documenting in-kind support meticulously. These programs, while distinct, often overlap. For example, a veteran on VA pension might supplement with SSI if income is low, but the resource limits could snag them if VA back pay arrives in a lump sum, or an SSDI beneficiary might find their substantial gainful activity threshold aligns better with part-time VA vocational rehab earnings. The administration's push for efficiency, seen in faster claims and digital tools, is commendable, but the specter of reductions, like the proposed SSI in-kind rule or VA age-based cuts, reminds us that advocacy remains key. Contacting representatives or joining veteran groups can influence final implementations. Ultimately, these updates reflect a system striving to adapt to economic realities and demographic shifts. With an aging population and rising disability claims straining funds, yet they also highlight inequities, such as how COLA calculations might not fully capture seniors' healthcare costs. By staying ahead of these curves, you position yourself not just to survive the changes, but to maximize what you've earned through service or contributions, turning policy jargon into personal empowerment. Wrapping up this comprehensive dive, remember that knowledge like this isn't just information. It's your shield in a world where benefits can make or break stability. And as we've explored, the 2025 shifts in SSI, SSDI, and VA programs offer a mix of uplifts through COLA and expansions like PACT Act inclusions, tempered by restrictions in ratings and potential cuts that could redefine access for the vulnerable. Whether it's the modest but meaningful payment increases helping cover essentials, or the procedural tweaks accelerating help when you need it most, these changes underscore the importance of resilience and preparation in securing your future. Stay informed, consult experts if needed, and know that your entitlements are hard-won. Here's to navigating them with confidence and clarity.